Welcome to the Ponchatoula Live Show, where we make it easy to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and our guest today is somebody I've been really eager to meet. We never met until a few moments ago, but that's Riyen Helg with Stinky Mud Photography. So whether you know Riyen or not, if you're spending time in Ponchatoula, you probably know his work. It's all over the place. He's been very successful through his photography business, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, private businesses, realtors, you name it, families, outdoors, wildlife. You know, he kind of covers it all as I understand it. But anyway, with no further ado, Riyen, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Parker.
Why don't we kick it off, if you don't mind, by just telling the people, our viewers, a little bit about yourself?
Well, you've covered the name part. So my name's Riyen. Born and raised in Ponchatoula. Come from a long line of people who were also born and raised in Ponchatoula. And I don't know, without getting too deep into it, I know there's a lot of questions. We're going to be here a while, but that's just briefly.
Yeah, sure. And you know, you mentioned a long line. You know, the Helg family is a well-known family here in Ponchatoula. As we were talking about, offline before we started recording, I grew up playing baseball with your cousin, Denny, and his dad, your uncle, was our coach. And
yeah, that's right.
You know, just a well-known family.
Right next door. So.
Well, please tell him hello. I don't think I've seen him in years. And great guy. I really always admired him and his dad, and, you know, just wonderful family. Now, your story is an interesting one. Like me, you're a local boy who really never went away, you know, loved this place, stayed here. I think you married a local girl too, right?
That's correct.
All right, we'll get to that love story in a bit if you care to share that with us. But why don't we talk about childhood in Ponchatoula? You know, I'm not sure your exact age. I think you're a little younger than I am, or maybe a lot younger. But tell us what it was like. You know, when did you come up in Ponchatoula, and what was life like for you then?
Your brother is Louis, right?
Yeah, that's my youngest.
Me and Louis are the same age, and we went to school.
Oh, cool.
And I haven't seen Louis in years. So
he moved off to Texas. He's doing well. I'll tell him you said hello. He's got 3 boys, and he and his wife Maggie live in Houston. And awesome. I miss him. I don't get to see him that often, but he was in about 2 weeks ago. And we both have boys. He has 3. I have 2. They're about the same age. So we took our kids fishing about 2 or 3 weeks ago and had a blast.
Yeah.
So that must have put you guys y'all graduate high school in 01 or thereabout? Okay.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, if you're familiar with Ponchatoula, I went through all the school system, public school system, my entire life, you know, all the way from kindergarten at Perrin through Tucker and all the schools. Growing up in Ponchatoula we just didn't know there was another place that existed. Everything was right here, right? You know, everything was right here in town. Everything that we needed. Didn't really leave too much. We didn't even really vacation. You know, our vacations during the summer was down the river.
Yeah, that was us too. Our vacation was Man Shack, which was great.
Right. Yeah, and I loved it. You know, no regrets about that. Just basically had everything we needed right here.
Well, I know you, and we'll get obviously into talking about your company, Stinky Mud Photography, and I can't wait to ask you about the name. You know, how you came up with that. I have an idea. Maybe it's related to that area.
Exactly what you're thinking, probably.
But what got you started with your interest? I mean, did you start going down in the swamps at a young age? I know obviously you've taken beautiful photographs down there. I think you were broadcasting live there yesterday or the day before, if I saw. But you know, when did you start going down there, and what did you do? Were you guys fishing, hunting?
I think I was born all of the above. My mom told me I was born at North Oaks, but I think I was born in the swamp, really, to be honest. But no, we've been out there our entire life, but whether it was hunting or fishing or just enjoying the scenery and all. Between Joyce Wildlife Management Area, North Pass, South Pass, Lake Green, it's just all those areas around here. That's where we grew up, and
it's still with you now, quite obviously, huh?
Yeah. So the whole, I guess we could just go ahead and move into the name. I didn't.
Oh yeah, we can head in any direction you like. You got to tell me the Stinky Mud story, because that's a really great name, and I'm curious about how you decided to pull the trigger on that.
I'm going to dig back a little further before we get into the name, how we got into photography. Yeah. Tiffany, my wife, her dad was a well-known taxidermist. And if you're from Ponchatoula and you had anything mounted, you were probably getting your deer head mounted through Norman Watts.
Of course, yeah, well-known.
Well, I said photography. Norman Watts taxidermy, but he was also into photography as a hobby. He was a hobbyist, and he passed down all of his cameras to Tiffany, and she she always had an eye for it, and I always kind of pushed her in it. Well, I have a background in the oil field, so while I was
you had a steady and very good job, as I understand it, in the oil field. So I'm really interested to hear about making that leap.
Try not to backtrack too much, and we'll just go into anyways, she had cameras. We bought her some newer digital cameras, and as I would go out the door to go hunting or kayaking or whatever I was doing, I would steal her camera on the way out the door and just take pictures for fun. After a few people noticed some of the pictures and kind of asked if they could get them blown up as prints to hang in their house, I didn't really think too much about the name when I came up with it, but it stinks out there.
You're right, it does.
The mud stinks. When you checked yesterday with the live video, I didn't go live for this part, but whenever you got hip waders on and you're actually walking through each pocket, it's like it lets up that gas.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't know what that is. Methane, ethane. I'm not good with my gases, but I know the smell from my whole life down there. Yeah.
All of those gases. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. Basically, that's what it is. There's nothing underlying about it.
Well, that's neat. Well, let's backtrack a little bit, getting back to your childhood down there. Was this a family affair? Did you go with your buddies? Was it one of your buddies' dads that got you, in the swamp for the first time, or how this all began, and kind of who did you spend your formative years with playing, down there in the swamp, here in Ponchatoula, whatever you were doing as a kid? What was childhood like?
Yeah, it was definitely my dad and his brothers. Yeah. Denny, you spoke of earlier, his dad.
Yeah, Denny was, as we talked about earlier, he was my baseball coach when I was a kid, and his son was my teammate, and it's okay. So I know this guy's well. Great family.
So if you have a boat or know anybody with a boat, chances are Denny's dad, Dennis, has worked on it. He's a
absolutely, yeah. He's great at that.
If you know where boats go in the water, that was our family.
Yeah.
Him, Uncle Tommy, and my dad. That was who we spent our time with growing up. They had a camp, and it was before I was born. I don't even remember it, but apparently we spent some time down there, and they grew up on the Tangipahoa River and everything. So.
Yeah, us too. We had a camp on South Pass in Manchac. It's now long since blown away by storms, but we still keep our boats at the boat launch down there and make it out a good bit. We just come back to Ponchatoula to sleep. So I hear where you're coming from. It's a wonderful way to spend a childhood. We grew up down there playing with the Poche boys and the Bates kids, and Harris's that are cousins with the Bates, and we love to kind of head your way on the river. Had a lot of friends over there. It's a big part of Ponchatoula life that a ton of people just don't know about, because you can only get there by boat, right? There's no driving by the camps of the Tangipahoa River. You got to get a boat to get down there.
That is, and that's perfect that you said that, because that is my idea, and that is how I got started in photography, just doing it as a hobby. And my thoughts, we see this beautiful sunsets and what the swamp has to offer around here, but there's a lot of people that live right here that has never seen it because they just don't have the opportunity to get out there, the means. And that was my idea, bring the swamp to the people. It can get kind of treacherous out there with gators and mosquitoes, and not everybody.
For sure. And especially folks that don't know what they're doing. I mean, boats, they can be really unsafe if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's not like a car with a seat belt and all this safety technology to help you back up with cameras. I mean, you got a propeller there that's really dangerous, and we don't want, people that don't know anything about boats to be on the pass or be on the river endangering our kids. I mean, we welcome the folks that want to learn that stuff and do it right. Yeah. But it's great that you can kind of take these images and bring them to people that don't have the time or ability or interest in learning how to boat properly,
Right. Yeah. And that's,
you married a local girl. Okay. Why don't we're going to get into, I want to hear more about the photography and how it went from being her inherited cameras and her primary interest, and to you kind of stealing the camera on the way out the door hunting. But before we get there, why don't you tell us how you guys met and kind of what got this beautiful family all started? What's the story there?
Me and her have different stories about how we met.
My wife and I do too. I can relate.
Yeah. My wife is 5 years younger than me.
Okay.
She had a best friend growing up. Her best friend's older brother and I were friends. So she used to kind of stalk me and peek out through the windows as me and him were doing our thing. And
This is definitely your version of the story. I can tell already. We're going to please tell her we'll get her on a follow-up interview so we can get the Paul Harvey rest of the story. But please proceed.
Right. So at the time, I was over the age limit to date her, because there's a 5 years difference, but we connected later on down the road. I think we ran into each other in a parking lot, and she said, "Hey, you're my brother's or my best friend's brother's friend." And I don't know, and we just started kind of talking after that and got to know each other. At that time, MySpace.
Yeah.
And so
the good old days. Yeah.
I guess we really kind of just really got to know each other through MySpace. And then
well, that's really neat. So y'all knew each other for years, kind of on the periphery, or knew of each other. Yeah, she knew you. I like that. She was. I think I'm gonna quote you earlier, stalking you. That one may come back to haunt you if she watches this. But that's cute. That's cute. So then y'all took up, and here we are now. And y'all have what? 3 children? How many kids?
3 children.
How old are your kids now?
9, 5, and 3. It's boy.
Oh, neat. So I have 2 close in age to yours. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so we're right behind you. But you're in uncharted territory when you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So as far as I'm aware, off the show later, you can tell me about the challenges ahead. Yeah. Well, so you guys meet, you get married. Let's go back to the story you were telling earlier. She's into photography. She gets this from her dad. It's a family hobby passed down. When does this kind of, small interest in photography, it sounds like it started as a hunting trip with a side of photography, later became photography as a central, at least professional passion in your life. How did that evolve? How did that take up?
For me, it actually hasn't been that long. It was something because I did have a career in the oil field. I just didn't at the time see it as a means of income because the oil field is steady and it's the benefit and all that. So I always pushed her, and she's got such a great eye for photography, and she doesn't always push herself, so I'm there for her to push her through the photography part. But she kind of stuck with it, and we would just upgrade our equipment every now and then. But she was weddings, family things like that, and just kind of far apart, every now and then somebody would ask her to do a family session.
Right.
I guess it was about 2.5 years ago when I really picked it up and just.
So was she doing this full time and you were just, or
she wasn't, it was never a full time. It was not even hardly a business at all. It was just something that, she would do every now and then.
Something she loved to do, and she was really good at it. So people took notice of that and wanted to use her services. Is that a fair appraisal of kind of how it was? Okay.
Yeah. And then, whenever we really started getting into more equipment and things, if she would do a wedding, you need more than one photographer. So she would ask, come assist me, and it's not really my thing. And I really enjoyed it. I found myself enjoying it, working together with her, and just our artsy minds clashing and creating these portfolios of images was just amazing. It blew my mind.
And they're gorgeous. I mean, as we interview, I'm looking behind you at these gorgeous prints you've got back there. And I know each one, there's a story behind them. When we see Stinky Mud Photography now, do we know whether it's you, whether it's her? I mean, how's you guys are, a team in this in large regard. So is this something where they're all labeled with, just the company logo, or do you sign under there? This one's Brian, or, how's all that work?
It's a little confusing when it comes to that. Since we are a registered licensed business, it's Stinky Mud Photography. She also has a Facebook page and Instagram and all that. And, Riyen Helg Photography, so she can kind of put a brand on her stuff. Yeah, we do have different styles. Stinky Mud is the business, but all the swamp in nature is me.
Yeah,
she's more on the family side, the wedding side. So we just kind of make it work
Does
together.
she have her own pair of hip boots like you, or no?
No, she'll come out there with me sometimes, but like I said, we have 2 kids, and
sure,
we're real family oriented, where we like to do things together. So
yeah, I noticed on Facebook you guys had a big camping trip this last weekend. It looked like a lot of fun. You got some great images, and I saw the kids running around, playing, reading. Just looked like y'all had a blast.
It was much needed.
Yeah, I'm glad you got a break.
Yeah,
well, that's neat. So it's been about 2.5 years since your passion really evolved. You saw the opportunity for a thriving business here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you mentioned, you had a great steady career going in the oil field. How do you make that leap of faith? I'm sure it was a family decision and y'all had to talk it out. But what prompted you to make such a giant leap of faith? Because these are very different careers.
Yeah.
And as a self-employed business owner, I know no matter what kind of business you're starting, it's scary. And I took that leap before I had kids. It's even scarier once you have mouths to feed. What was that like? I mean, what's the start of your business like? And can you share that with our listeners and viewers?
Sure. Yeah. So, thankful for my dad. He really pushed me to get back into school for process operations at a young age, before I got carried away with all the partying and stuff. But I got hired on at a young age, 22 years old, as a process operator at Valero.
Yeah.
And very blessed, very thankful for that. No regrets, but it was a shift work, rotating shift job. 13 and a half years I did the rotating shift, and it used to be nice, but now we have 3 young kids. It was just a lot of the time was being taken up.
Yeah.
Work. I was married to the company, and it just got more and more stressful. In 2016, we took a slight leap towards opening up a spa business. And then that's when the 3rd child came along, and he was our surprise. And Tiffany was supposed to be running the spa while I was working the plant. And she had complications. My son was born with complications, and it was bad time. And we ended up shutting down after 2 years. And that was really the first venture. Well, that gave me a taste of working for myself. And
right.
Kind of, once you take that first jump, then the second jump is easy.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people won't share their stories of businesses that are no longer here. And I think people take for granted that the first business is always successful and just a given. It's not. My first business, I went into business with my 2 best friends, Will and Ben Richardson. Ben, you would have gone to high school with them. They're the godfathers to my children. And I was doing that when I was still working for the government as a young attorney, and it didn't work out. And we went belly up, but the things we learned in that business are what now make me successful in this one. Thanks for sharing that. I think enough people don't do that. It's super important to share the lessons you learn from business number one, whether it flames out quickly like mine or lasts longer like it sounds your did or what. But, that's important. I think all the young entrepreneurs out there that may be watching need to know that. It's no given that the first business or any business will thrive. But, the fact that a business doesn't endure doesn't mean it's failure. That experience is invaluable and may lead to bigger, better things. It sounds like it did with you. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. We had many people come up to us, and the first thing they say is, "I'm sorry about your business," and like me and Tiffany are looking at each other like, "What are you sorry about?" Like, that was an amazing experience. That was 2 years of learning, and we met so many great people and had some good times and lost some money, but that's behind us now. And just so it be known, the business that we started is still lingering. We don't have a storefront or anything, but there's still some things going on with it, and we change directions with it. So sometimes it's all about learning and just being open-minded to changes and not what you went in expecting.
Yeah, right.
So I guess the second go around was I was just at work all the time, thinking about how I really enjoyed working for myself. And I felt like I was just kind of wasting my full capabilities of my passion in art. I do a lot of art. Miss Zabia was my teacher, and
great art teacher. She's beloved.
Huge inspiration to me. just to live out a passion, you know. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't I wouldn't necessarily call it a leap of faith, more than a gradual, you know, we kind of just went into it and started working and saw the chance to grow it.
Well, obviously the start of that business and the photography career was gradual, but there's no way that I know to gradually quit a good steady job. So that part had to be kind of sudden.
That was very sudden.
Yeah. How does that go down? And I don't need the details on how it went down, but what I'm getting at, I guess, is the emotions. And for anybody out there that may be listening, wanting to start their own thing, whether it's turning a side hustle into a primary business or a fresh, clean break, fresh start, what are the emotions of doing that? And really, what advice would you share with somebody? Maybe think of it as going back to your younger self. If you could go back to that moment, give yourself some advice, or give it similar advice to somebody who's thinking about it now, what was that like? What would your advice be to folks thinking about making that kind of jump?
I don't have any regrets of the timing or anything. It all seemed like it happened in good time. And you're right, there was that time where it came to, we're taking pictures, our business is growing, I'm still at the plant. Like, I can't grow this thing any further unless I quit. Like, I have to.
Right.
But the income ratio, the benefits and all that is in your mind. So some people, you have to take that leap. So make the flop.
Well, that's neat.
It is scary. It's still scary working for yourself every day. Especially with everything going on right now, you just don't know what the next day is going to bring. But that's something that me and Tiffany have learned over time is I don't even live day to day. I live moment to moment.
Yeah.
Just living in the moment.
That's smart, because we can only control this moment we're in now, right?
That's exactly right.
I think one thing events like COVID have taught us is that there's no, I guess, real security out there, right? I mean, you can think I'm working for Shell, this big, giant, multi-billion-dollar company, I'm safe, but Shell might close your plant. Sadly, that's happening right now. And my heart goes out to everybody impacted by that,
Mine too, because I've got a lot of friends in the
I'm
business.
sure we all have friends down there, and whether it's our friends' dads that work down there, or now guys our age of friends, but I guess my point is, whether, there's no security, whether it's government, I've got friends that work for the state that thought they were entering the most secure careers they could. And they're telling me, man, I haven't had a raise in a decade. The cost of living's doing this and my salary's here, and they get the point here is there's, there are different types of security. Certainly your old job had much more security in that you had a steady check, you had benefits, you knew where your health insurance, financially it was there, but you could be 100% fired at any moment. Your new job has a lot more question marks, but you can't get fired unless you decide to fire yourself, and you may go from 100% profitable to 50%, but that's still maybe can pay for groceries, So there's a lot of question marks, and, you're riding a different wave now, I guess. And that's really interesting. Well, let's dig into the work itself. You are clearly an incredibly talented photographer, as is your wife. Tell us about the different type of services you provide. What do you do? I know we're talking a lot about your passion, the art. I know there's also the commercial side of things. You're an accomplished commercial photographer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what all you do? And, we can just kind of head in any direction with that. I mean, feel free to let your passions fly and tell us, more about the things you love than the things you don't. But I think, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you to share with Ponchatoula everything that Riyen Helg and Tiffany Helg and Stinky Mud Photography do. Why don't you share that with us?
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of, I would say most photographers have a niche where they specialize in. And I'm kind of like all over the place with everything that I do. I like to not be the best at everything, but I like to try to succeed in everything I do, whether it's cooking or drawing, or I'm competitive if it comes to sports or something like that. I just like to try to see the best I can do at everything. So I guess once I started getting into photography and people started seeing pictures of alligators and sunsets and stuff, they find out, oh, you know how to work a camera, so you do family pictures, or we do this and that. Well, Tiffany also sells real estate, and she did back in 2008. We also have a small little real estate company of ourselves, and so the need for the pictures for the houses came to, and we learned how to do real estate photography, which is something completely different from the artsy side of. It's more like a machine and a system, and it's high demand. So that's one of the things we specialize in, and it just goes along with everything else that we're doing right now. I also found myself getting into video. I used to just make shift little videos of me and my oldest son camping, or just put together neat little videos, and people are like, oh wow, you're really good at it. I never really thought of making a career out of it, but the more I got into it, and things that I really enjoy doing is.
I think I saw one of your videos the other day, and forgive me if I'm wrong, if this is somebody else's great work, but did you shoot the Collinswood Museum spot that's been on Facebook here recently?
I did.
That was really good. I admired that. I know the lighting's challenging in an old building like that, and you're not dealing with probably a ton of great natural light coming in. I worked next door to that building for a dozen years, so I know how closed up it can be. But just to tell us about that. I mean,
I'd love to tell you about that, because that's actually part of a series that we're doing. I'm a director.
And if you don't mind, I'll just to quickly pause. You and I take for granted we know what Collinswood Museum is, but it's dawning on me that not everybody in Ponchatoula, in such a fast-growing community, would. This is the little former schoolhouse building at the corner of, what would that be, Southeast Railroad and Pine Street, right next to the little pocket park, right by the big locomotive in town. This was 100 years ago or more, the schoolhouse in Ponchatoula. It was a one-room school. Now it's our town museum. And so, sorry to interrupt you, Ryan, but that's Collinswood Museum. It's a treasure. If you haven't been there yet, check it out. And Ryan, please tell us about that project and the series that you alluded to.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, or the end of last year, really, I decided to join the chamber as a director, Ponchatoula Chamber of Commerce. This project that we're doing is a project that we've all came together as a chamber and decided to do. It's Welcome to Ponchatoula is the name of the series that we do.
Okay.
We give each chamber member a short 1-minute commercial, kind of.
Yeah.
It's a volunteer type thing. So it's just really low budget, just bring in a camera, shoot generally what the store has. We want to get people, whether it's online shopping, just knowledge of what's going on in Ponchatoula, restaurants that we have, and give each chamber member an opportunity to showcase what they do. Well,
I'm glad you mentioned that. As a longtime chamber member and fan, we need to get going on that. I need to invite you guys over here to the law firm so we can get that going, because I've been impressed. I've seen several of the videos you shot. That one would be in the most recent. But great job on that work. What about the difference between shooting video, shooting still shots? Can you talk to us a little bit about the challenges there, and maybe the different skills and talents it takes for you to excel at both? Because I know they're very different.
Yeah, first off, I would never claim to be the best at what I do. It's just really that I enjoy doing it, but I'm learning as I go. Like I said, I've only been doing photography as a business for only 2.5 years. So I'm still amateur level.
No, you're selling yourself short. You're great. You're maybe a newer professional, but you're really great. And I got to tell you, as a guy who's been practicing law for close to 18 years, you're always learning new things, no matter what the trade, right? I mean, none of us are ever complete in our profession. So
I guess if we
be growing and learning.
I would say we're not learning anymore, then we've kind of topped out on what we've become.
Yeah.
But so the video and still is two totally different monsters in itself. It's video comes with a lot of equipment, a lot of back-end editing time. Pictures, you go snap a couple, spend a little bit of time getting the image the way you want it to look, and you're done. Video can take days of film time, even more days of editing time, and it's just a lot of time. And it's two different things, really. But I enjoy
sounds a lot more labor intensive.
It is, yeah.
Do you use different editing softwares for video versus still, or let me just say that. Let me ask a little bit about your tech stack. What do you use? I know you're on Macs because of what it took us to hook up here,
Yeah.
Do you do all of your editing on your Mac, or how's that
No,
work?
we have a built PC too that we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a monster machine that my little sister built us, and
Okay.
that's where the magic happens. I do
That's where
some
the
things on
major
Mac.
horsepower is, right?
Yeah. It's actually, let's see, I'll just turn it and show you.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a monster. Wow. You got to go look. You can't show a guy a screen without him asking how many inches that is. That looked like the longest monitor.
It's a wide, here, let's turn it back so you can see.
Yeah.
It's a wide screen.
That's really impressive. High def, widescreen.
We're going to go,
yeah.
You know, if we're editing over here, we can pull up different images here, and it's a necessity for sure.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool.
A lot of people do a multi-monitor, but
with you having a photography business, your wife, does this mean you guys are forced to kind of share the monster machine? Does it ever get competitive over there, like on whose turn it is to edit and whatnot?
So funny that you asked that question, because that area over there is her desk, and you can see it doesn't have a computer on it. But I just told her whenever I was cleaning up the office and getting it ready, I was like, you gotta get your own computer soon.
That's funny.
But no, right now we share and it works out.
Yeah. Well, what else are you doing? We talk about a few type of projects you do. What kind of professional opportunities would you be open to in terms of people hiring you to be their photographer? What other kind of gigs do you do?
I really, really enjoy doing local promotional type work, whether it be photography or video. I like doing short promotional videos just to kind of broadcast businesses and showcase what they do. And product photography, I've done quite a few things around the Tangipahoa area for different businesses, and you may see the pictures and not even know that I did it. But
yeah, well, would you share? I mean, would you mind sharing some projects you've been proud of, or talk about folks you work with? And
I wonder if these people, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot. We could circle back to that, but
yeah.
I'm just curious if you do think of any projects you're proud of, feel free to.
Okay, I know somebody that wouldn't mind. He might be watching now. Isaac with Mystic Detail and Ceramics.
Oh yeah, the car shows and his detailing company. Yeah, Isaac Zaleski.
Without giving out too much of his information, we kind of started on our journey together as far as being self-employed, and we kind of took a leap along the same line. So we're not necessarily on paper business partners, but we do a lot of work for one another. That's
one thing I like about being self-employed is you can joint venture all the time. You don't have to become full-fledged. Yeah, I mean, you can just kind of do things together. But the Zaleskis, like the Helgs, great family, local. They've been my parents' neighbors for forever, for longer than I've been around. But yeah, great folks. I've always really admired their family. They're wonderful, and that's cool. Well, tell us about what else are you into, man? I mean, what else could you share with our viewers? I know you're into the outdoors. You mentioned being competitive with sports. Like what do you get into?
Basically, my life now is either I always have my camera in my hand, so it's basically all photography. And like I said earlier, we're family oriented. You mentioned the camping. We really just spend a lot of time together. We made the decision 2 years ago to homeschool, and so we just pretty much it's all about me and the family.
Sure, that's great. Now, is that something y'all do together, or does Tiffany do the primary homeschooling? How do y'all work that with 3 kids?
Yeah, I'll give her most of the credit for the homeschooling. She's got it built, the system that we do. I'll come in sometimes and try to help out.
Yeah, neat.
Yeah.
Well, you've mentioned your family, Isaac, Miss Zabia. Who are other kind of formative influences, or just people that have helped you in your life in any of these journeys we talked about, from childhood to self-employment and your business now? Who are other people that you think have really helped you become the man you are and the success that you are?
Wow. I had great parents. I give most of the credit to them. and most of my family really.
Yeah.
If you know one of the Helgs, you know them all. They just being around them. My mom's side of the family is LeBlanc's, and
Oh, really? So is mine. I'm
yeah,
sure different LeBlancs. There are so many in the state, but yeah, that's
right.
quite a neat coincidence.
And then the LeBlancs connect to the Satoons, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Both great families here in
I don't
town.
know if
Yeah.
I should. I don't know if I should admit that on live. But yeah, I'm
I love
related.
the Satoons. You know, growing up in
Yeah.
Ponchatoula, there were so many Satoon kids, no matter what your age, you know, you kind of felt
Right.
either with one or near one. And so the twins, you know, were kind of heroes of mine growing up, because when you're a 12-year-old boy, they were the coolest kids in town, you know, a few years ahead of you. And
Yeah,
just,
they're
yeah,
still
great,
cool.
great family, man. I love those guys, and their parents are wonderful people. They used to live next door to the house I live in now, and they've since moved, but just neat folks. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. All good folks. And I love the LeBlancs too. You know, Dawn, Brayville, their parents, they're just,
Yeah,
I'm sure those are your cousins.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, great folks, man. Wonderful family.
So family has really been the biggest
Yeah.
inspiration.
What I loved about my LeBlanc family, now they live over in the Livonia, Maringouin area on the other side of the Mississippi River. But if you know the four Layrisson boys, you know I'm by far the shortest one, which meant I got picked on a heck of a lot by all my brothers that are 6 inches taller or more. And but when I would go to the LeBlanc family reunion, which was this tiny family that had multiple jockeys in the family, you know, I was like the tall guy for a change. So if I could keep Louis or Bree home, you know, I could be the tall one in the family for that weekend. But
Yeah.
that's neat that we share kind of the same mom side of the family, even if it may be very, very distant relations. Well, look, it's at 3:40, and I promised I wouldn't keep you too long. But before we close up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers about yourself, about your business, just anything at all? We can kind of talk about whatever you'd like, but I've enjoyed getting to know you in this last half hour or so. I'm sure our viewers have too. But what's on your mind? What would you like to share with us before we close?
Oh man, I'm not good with being put on the spot.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Well, you shared a lot, so if you have no more, that's fine. Don't feel compelled to go grasping at straws.
I just really I don't know. I guess these past 2 years, I've really everything that's been on my mind is community and photography,
Right.
and just back. I'm in the situation right now, which is where I set myself up to be. But Tiffany and myself both, we just really enjoy being able to serve our community, being a part of it. You know, I grew up here as a kid, riding my bike through downtown Ponchatoula and going in all the stores, and now I'm actually being able to give back to them and work with them. And we are available for any and all photography services. But yeah, I guess that's.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And would you mind sharing how people could contact you if we're interested in hiring you? You know, how should we get touch base?
I would really love if everybody would check out my website. It's www.stinkymudphotography.com. And there's not 2 D's. A lot of people want to put 2 D's on it just because they want to make it fancy, but it's exactly what it is.
Very, very literal. That's great, man. Well, Riyen, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us all today. It's been great to get to know you and learn more about your business and see the beautiful things that you and your wife are doing. To our viewers, I want to say thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week at 3:00 p.m. on Thursday. So have a great week. And Riyen, once again, thanks so much, man. You have a good one. Take care.
Thanks for having me, man. Had a blast.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.